This is Laudelina Martinez from the Martinez Gallery. And I'm really very pleased today to welcome George Simmons. George is an artist who works in a number of media, so he's multi-talented. He also has a very dry sense of humor, which we might see at some point during the interview. At any rate, hello, George. Good to
Hello,
see you.
hello, Laudelina. Thank you very much.
So I thought we would start at the beginning. Tell
Okay.
us, where were you born, and tell us something about your childhood.
Okay, I was born in Trinidad in the West Indies, Trinidad and Tobago. Um, my sister and I were born there on a university campus where my parents were in school attending. Um, and around age 2, my sister and I went to live with my aunt in Barbados while my parents uh, went abroad, US, to study further their education. My father in eventually getting his PhD, and my mother in nursing. We stayed with my aunt for about 4 or 5 years down in Barbados in a very rural um, um, town, or in St. Lucie up north, very rural, next to mango trees and sugar cane and things. Um, it was a good childhood, but I think it was isolated, and there weren't too many kids running around. But we had a wonderful time. Um, and then we came to Melrose, Massachusetts. We joined our parents in Melrose, Massachusetts for a couple of years. Then Cortland, New York for 4 years. Then Rochester, New York, a Brighton suburb of Rochester, where I went to high school. Then on to college.
And you
So
went to college where?
Hampton, Hampton Institute, now Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia. Studied marketing and photography, interdisciplinary degree in photography, but it was primarily marketing. And I think that's where I got my impetus to go into art. My photography teacher, Robert Rodak, was a young, recently graduated from the Chicago Art Institute, or University of Chicago. And he really inspired me because his approach to photography wasn't just technical. It was, aesthetic and intellectual, and all that heavy stuff behind. It wasn't just, this is a camera and how to use it. And he actually introduced me to painting and abstract expressionism. Although he was teaching exclusively photography, he introduced me to Willem de Kooning, and that's how I just got interested in painting and art.
But initially, then you were kind of focused on being a fine art photographer with
Yeah, yeah,
philosophical bent.
yeah. I was, to be honest, it was fine. It wasn't real. I was focused on photography,
Yeah,
and I did fine art photography.
yeah.
And at one point, I dabbled about doing commercial photography, fashion photography, going to movies, all these other things. But it pretty much ended up being pretty straightforward commercial photography through through the New York State Assembly, where I was lucky enough to get a job, and that was primarily sort of for journalism.
So you went to graduate school. Did you work before you went to
Oh
graduate
yeah,
school and
I
take a break and then go to graduate school?
after college, I sold vacuum cleaners for for the
Wow.
summer, and then I had a job for a month in training with a insurance company, and I said, "Oh my God, this is not for me." And but I was lucky enough to get a job at New York State Photography as a printer. So I was in the darkroom printing, and then that was agonizing, and I really wanted to get out. So I asked to be a photographer, and they said sure. So so I was doing photography, and that primarily was um, just a whole variety of things, headshots and meetings and debates and stuff like that. And then along with that, I was doing my fine art photography. Alongside that, I did some joining competitions and clubs like that. I got first prizes here and there. I was doing pretty well. I had a show at a pretty important gallery down there. Um, I mean, up there. I'm now down in South Carolina, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but then um, the whole thing with fine art, with not photography art, started when I was in the dark room. I would expose the paper to light, and then you have to put it into a machine. And the machine took, I don't know, 40, 30 seconds or so to come up to see if the exposure was right or whatever. And during that time, I was like, I was just twiddling my thumbs, and I started to make marks on scrap pieces of paper and make collages and stuff. And that eventually led me to really want to make, just paintings and stuff. So, and go ahead. Did
Yeah,
you?
no, that was my next question. How did you move from photography to painting? Obviously, you said you were introduced by one of your professors,
Yeah.
but something must have compelled you to go into painting. And can you remember what it
I,
was? Or do you still find a certain level of engagement with painting that you can talk about?
yeah, I don't remember an event, but I do remember going down to New York City and elsewhere and looking at going to then Soho. Soho is not Soho anymore, uh, at least in terms of art, and just being captivated by paintings, and primarily contemporary paintings, contemporary art. I mean, so, and oh gosh, just a second, sorry.
Okay,
Okay, so yeah, should
we're
I?
talking about going to Soho.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's just this feeling you get in the pit of your stomach when you're looking at when you're just gallery hopping and going from gallery to gallery and you see this wonderful art. Some of it, you love, some of it you walk right out. But it was just, I guess it's something it's really hard to explain. That sense of excitement that you got, and um, I don't know. I just find it captivating. I remember seeing a show in oh God, I forgot the name of the school now. And David Sally's work. I don't know if you're familiar with it, David Sally's work, and something that I'd seen in magazines. All of a sudden, there it was in the flesh, and it was just exciting. So there was no real transition. The transition that happened personally for me was in that dark room, making those little scratches and works on paper, and then eventually that in pretty short order, um, leading me to go to um, through Empire State College, going down to something called Studio Semester down in New York City. So I packed up I just quit the New York State Assembly and went down to New York City, and I had $5,000 in my pocket. Went and stayed with a friend, found a place to stay in 24 hours. Um, and I did this thing called Studio Semester, which I found after the fact. It was a pretty funny story. Um, it was first of all, you had a little studio and you did your art, and then you had these critics. Jerry Saltz came in, and some of these artists came in and looked at your work. I did my stuff there, did my little art there, and to live, I assisted photographers. and I had one or two personal jobs. And I moved fine art with Fine Arts Express, but I was primarily doing this art thing. Um, and then I went to the mentor after it was over, and I said, "Can you give me a letter of recommendation for graduate school?" This was like 1985, 86. After being at this, I left the assembly after about 5 years. So I did the studio semester for a couple of years. Then I went to the mentor. I said, "Can you give me a letter of recommendation to grad school?" And he said, "Grad school? I, this program is primarily for people who've been to grad school." And I said, "Oh, I didn't know that." So I'm doing it backwards. So so that's what I did. Then I went to the University of Madison, Wisconsin, and continued my education there.
That's great. I but the painting that you were doing, I gather, developed out of your own sense of what you wanted to follow. Because you're neither abstract nor figurative. You're a combination of both. And sometimes there are some rather surrealistic elements in your painting. Am I right? Am I correct in?
Yeah,
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 and I'm including in your painting your drawings as
yeah,
well.
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Uh,
And why is
yeah,
that? Is that like the voice, your own voice that you found, to use a literary term, or um, is that uh, something that you want to bring together, these two kind of traditions? No?
no, no, that's not a conscious effort at all. It just, I see, I have sort of I do a lot of, not a lot, I do some of those figurative busts and heads that you see, and some contain the entire figure. And then I do those all over abstractions. Um, I, I really don't know what to say about mixing the two, but what I can say about a lot of, especially the digital work I'm doing now, to me it seems that it's a mix of, well, here's how I work. Can I jump into that?
That would be really interesting.
Okay. I start with a white canvas, obviously, or a board. I like to work on heavy board when I do paintings, or with digital work on a tablet. I might start with a photograph. I take a photograph, sometimes the blackness, so it's just a black background, or white, the sky, um, or it can be anything. Just that becomes the ground. That becomes the canvas, and then I really just start making marks. I don't think about it. It's chaotic. They may be like a spark of inspiration from something that I saw, out in nature or photograph or painting, but it's primarily just chaotic scratches, and it's all over the place, and washes or scratches, and then I really don't think about it aesthetically. I'm not trying to make something beautiful at that point. And then what happens is that I refine it. I say, okay, wait a minute. I refine. Um, I say to myself, what am I doing here? And then you put all that chaos into order, and and then you refine it, and then over time, sometimes it takes the next day or a couple of weeks. They'll come back to it, um, and I mean down to a little tiniest little anal retentive kind of refinement.
Yeah.
But and a lot of it to me is dark. I think a lot of the background is black. A lot of the dark clouds I've been using now. A lot of chaotic things, and to me I like to make that chaos into order.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
sort of like the universe. It just explodes, and all of a sudden it begins to make order. The gravity or whatever makes these swirls, and pretty soon you have something that's compelling visually. Um,
And you never finish. You're the kind of artist who keeps going back. Am I right?
What do you mean? I never finish a piece?
You never finish. You keep going back.
Well, sometimes I do that, and I've been trying to stop, and um, but I do come back, and a lot of times when I take it away from the tablet onto the computer to further work with the image, the tones and everything, um, I'll say, "Oh gosh, I don't like it," and then I'll have to go back onto the tablet and fix it again, then go back to the computer. But yeah, I'm trying to finish.
Now,
Um,
you said something that leads me to a question I wanted to ask you about color in your work. Sometimes you seem to really want to avoid any kind of bright color.
Bright, you said?
Right, yeah, any kind of assertive color. You seem to be really comfortable with the black and white. Am I
Well,
correct?
no, well, with my prints, yeah, definitely. With my carbon ink and carbon prints,
Uh-huh.
um, that's definitely the case. But I find my with these can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a head there. Yeah, that's all black and white. But I find my paintings and my digital work, it's very colorful, I think. And
Okay. Do you have another one there that you're going to show us?
yeah,
I see you. Yes, right. We have that at the gallery, in fact.
yeah, there we go. That's better
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That has a great deal of color, but
Yeah, I find that my digital work has is very colorful.
leads you into color then, much
Yeah.
more than your printmaking.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. I
And are you
really
still doing printmaking,
no.
or
I was
have
going
you
to
put
say
it aside for a while?
I haven't done printmaking in a while, and I got into that when I was in University of Wisconsin Madison, doing graduate stuff, doing graduate work. They have a tandem press. They're affiliated with the tandem press. It's very famous. And anyway, they've got these gigantic. I mean, it's 6 foot long. These rollers for monotypes. And
Hmm.
I got into that, and I was doing primarily monotypes,
Yeah.
and I found that a lot of fun because I was breaking all the rules because I didn't have the rules. I didn't know the rules. So but these the ink and carbon print monotypes that I've been doing were derived from just old-fashioned carbon paper. I don't even know if they sell it now, and I haven't done that for a
For a
long
while.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're magnificent, a number of them. So I'm puzzled or curious about what, if any, are some of the ideas that you are looking at when you're working, no matter what the medium may be. Are there things that you're trying to explore? Are there concepts that you know in the back of your mind that you have, even though they may not be there while you're actually working?
Um, Not really. I guess I'm interested in that thing that has no verbalization. That you know that part of art that really can't. That's not narrative. Um, Perhaps the only thing I see that consistent with that with in my work is, especially the work I've been doing lately, the digital work, is this chaos thing for me. This personal sort of containing or shaping the explosion and making that more palatable, so you can see it. And to me, that's sort of my philosophy about life. It seems to me that you come into this life, you're born, and you're young, and you do all these intuitive um, th- things as a youngster, and all these perhaps making brash decisions or whatever. And then your maturity sort of refines that. It stops that. Instead of going out partying and riding fast motorcycles, maybe you say, oh geez, maybe I should refine myself and settle down. I don't know. It's to me, that's the only sort of thing that I can see my work sort of explaining, that sort of channeling that chaos. And also I was talking to my wife about it. I seem to over a background of melancholy or depression or sadness, or doom. I have this explosion of color, and then I like to put in there for me, these comical gestures. And sometimes I'll say, geez, what's needed here? I have my dark background, and I put in all these wonderful um, gestural colors, and I contain the chaos. And I said, geez, and then aesthetically, I'll say, gee, what's needed here? And I say, oh yes, a black line. And then I said, well, maybe not a black line, maybe a pink line.
Yeah,
So I go against. Sometimes I consciously go against what I think I really would really look good,
that's
just
great. That's
yeah,
great.
to make it shocking or something.
Yeah, it seems to me that the kind of disruption and alteration that you seem to engage sometimes in your work is really not chaos. It's
Mhm.
kind of like things coming at you that you are not containing, but you're actually trying to put some order.
Yes, order.
So it's really, for me, your work is more about trying to define some kind of order as opposed to trying to, just push away all of this stuff that's coming at you. Uh,
Yeah, I like that. That's what I've also used that term. Putting things into order. Um, you
so,
know, uh,
I recently was doing
world perhaps.
oh, great. That's it.
Yeah.
It has
I'm sorry. I wish I could put it like
almost
this. A light
everything.
answer.
No, sideways is better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has all
So,
these elements that you've talked about, the color, the kind of dyers, the kind of putting it into some kind of accessible composition. I mean,
yep.
it's really great.
Yep.
So I began to tell you that I interviewed some artists who call themselves New Yorican artists. And I'm very interested in this question of how much does your culture inform what you do? And even though you were born in the Caribbean and spent your childhood in the Caribbean, I don't think that you ever describe yourself as a Caribbean artist. You're
No.
totally an American, perhaps even a New York artist. But there must be some place where um, culture has a role in how you perceive things or how you approach things. Would you tell us something about that? What is the role of culture in your work?
Well, um, I,
Your culture.
I came to the United States when I was 7. Um, so perhaps if it was 21, 25, I could call myself a Trinidadian, despite the fact that my sister, I think, still has citizenship in Barbados or Trinidad, one of the two, I think Barbados. Um, it's hard when you're just 7 and then you find yourself in the United States, and then thinking back saying, geez, no, I'm not US. I'm really, I guess I left that. I mean, although I had that identity, I had that pride that, I was still West Indian. Um, so yes, I feel American. I don't call myself a West Indian. I guess West Indian American, you know, West Indian, African West Indian American. I don't know. I like to call myself George. You
Yeah.
know, that's what. Yeah, I like to call myself George.
Right.
But one thing I did find interesting that when I came here, I guess I didn't really fit in. Uh, I wasn't white, and I didn't quite fit in with black. Um, because I felt like, well, I'm from over the West Indies. I spoke differently at that time. I had the accent. I didn't really fit in with anyone. Perhaps my cousins or so, but they weren't around me. Um, so I guess there's always been a little sense of isolation, um, and a little. I think a little sense of objectivity when I look at race and color. Um, uh, that I pride myself on. Um, I in my work I don't think it explores. I like to call myself an artist. Period. I'm not a black artist. I'm not a male artist. I'm not a West Indian artist. I would like to call myself an artist. And when someone looks at my art, I want them to say, "Hey, that's really nice work by an artist." Period. That being said, I have done a number of self portraits and busts, and I don't know if you've seen them all that sort of explore um, my African American experience. And but I don't know if I really show that work, but perhaps later you'll see it. um, so that's I mean, not and doing non-narrative work, it's hard to explore my culture in either in landscape or the story. So
Well, you did this American culture series
uh-huh.
in photography,
Yeah.
and there were all of these images that involved very iconic American symbols, and also unusual Americans as well. I remember the um,
Let me see if I can find it.
Jewish figure outside with two kids
Yeah.
outside a 7-Eleven or something like that, kind of a very interesting juxtaposition. Um, the young Hispanic looking girl
I'm
standing on Central Avenue, I think, with a
I'm trying to find
child.
it. Yeah, I'm trying to find it. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That was just
Did you
walking around
see
my
that
neighborhood.
work as political work? Were you making commentaries?
No,
No, you were
no.
just, you think, looking at images that you found in the street.
Yep. I I don't know. I find that work that has a definite predisposition. I sort of find I'm not that interested in. I'm going to prove that white Americans are this, or black Americans are this, or poor people are this, and this is my work that supports it. I don't like that. I just like um, work that's sort of honest. You just go out and you find people that are just there, and obviously people will make judgments about it.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to find. I don't know if I have that.
Well, that's
Uh,
okay. I just wanted to
I
mention
don't
that
know if
because
you can see that.
sometimes what we see, yes, that is a terrific
Yeah,
image of
yeah.
two
Those
preteens
kids are
in a
great.
sense at the cusp of who knows what kind of life, you know. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the young Hispanic looking. I don't know. She could be Indian. She could be Native American.
yeah,
Um, and it seems to me though that the eye gets trained to look at certain things, and not only does the eye get trained to look at certain things, but also we ourselves have our own images that we get captured by, and
yeah.
we looked at them, and that's what makes, I think, a fine art photographer a fine art
But
photographer.
yeah, I mean, despite what I just said, I mean, I think everything everything is political, and especially now. And human beings, I think, can make sense out of everything, and they have a tendency to put things into categories and definitions, and um, they want to make sense of things. So they see a series of photographs, and they might say, "Oh, this is nice," but together, yes, it's about this, and it may very well be, and um, perhaps I'm naive, but I don't set out when I was doing this project. I didn't go out to define or search or prove anything about culture or politics or whatever. Um,
Well, just as human beings don't see part of themselves, we all don't see part of ourselves.
yeah,
Artists also don't see part of themselves.
yeah,
It's
I
not
think,
all intentional. And what's interesting for someone who's a critic or a teacher, a learner, a collector, is to find that part of the artist that may not be so intentional in the art.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like that thing that I was talking about, creating that order. I
Mhm.
didn't set out to do that. I sort of I you know um, sort of found that out after the fact. And I think after the series of, I'm looking at them now, forgive me, after look doing these pictures, you define you you see something,
Yeah.
and I guess what I saw um, was a common humanity. I just um, I really should start doing this again. It started to get pretty dicey because you just trying to walk around asking people to pose for a picture. At the time, I had a car that looked like a police car, and then I came out, and I'm pretty, I look pretty nerdy. I look like a cop.
A tall guy, a
Yeah,
nerdy tall guy.
yeah, and so it got pretty dicey on a couple of times.
Yeah.
And- But anyway, yeah, I found a real, there was this wonderful intimacy that happens, and
Yeah.
just talking to someone for 3 minutes and taking their picture, taking like 3 or 4 exposures. There's this wonderful intimacy that happens, and I pride myself because I tell people that I learned how to hypnotize people, because they people have this like, I'm going to get my picture taken, and at the time things have changed. This is a long time ago. Things have changed. You cannot go out and take pictures of people now, but back then it was okay. Um, um,
So, what
but
are you thinking of doing? Let's say in the next 5 or 10 years, what are some of the projects that are kind of saying to you, "Come after me, come after me"? I should share with those who are seeing this interview that you moved not long ago to South Carolina,
yeah,
and therefore you're in a different setting from New York now.
yeah,
And so I'm sure that uh, you're going to be taking that new environment, that new context, and you're processing it, and it may inspire new work.
yeah. Well, fine art wise, painting wise, I as soon as I get my physical space together, we're having some issues here. Uh, I want to continue doing my digital work, but I sort of want to transition those kind of images onto larger canvas with paint, real paint, and so that's one area that I definitely want to do, and um, and I think I don't know. In photography, my photography is not abstract at all. I'm more interested in in portraiture, in culture and people around me. So I'm thinking of doing some kind of some documentary.
So don't give up. I think you're a master in portraiture. So I hope that you continue that.
Yep, yep.
There's a great deal that you show, perhaps not meaning to show that. You may talk just about a general kind of humanity, but you show a certain kind of life that has been lived, a certain kind of dreams still there, or dreams just starting to develop. There's all kinds of
Yep.
Ideas that are inchoate in what you've.
Yeah, I think I want to hone it a little. Instead of going on just getting anyone I see, I want to hone it down a little bit and just isolate that a particular group.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing some of your work, and I want to thank you for spending this time with us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
We'll be talking again.
Thank you very much. All right. Cheerio. Bye-bye.